There are moments in history when the world forgets what it means to be good. When laughter no longer carries joy, and progress no longer means hope. Imagine a world like that, one where the light of compassion flickers and the hearts of men grow numb. That was the world Noah lived in. Cities had risen tall and proud, monuments to human ambition. Temples glittered with gold, yet hearts were empty. The earth was full, but not with kindness. Violence filled its streets. Every morning brought cries of injustice, and every night echoed with songs of indulgence. It was a world that had traded truth for pleasure, reverence for arrogance. And somewhere, in a quiet valley far from the noise, lived one man who still listened. His name was Noah. While others chased idols shaped by their own hands, Noah walked with the unseen Creator. He was not a king, nor a prophet in the grand halls of men. He was simply a man who still believed that goodness mattered, that faith had not yet died. Sometimes I wonder, what did he see that others couldn't? Maybe it wasn't about seeing at all, but hearing the silence behind the noise, the whisper of conscience when the world had gone deaf. Scripture calls Noah righteous in his generation, a man who walked with God. But perhaps what made him righteous was not perfection, it was persistence. In a world drowning in sin, Noah kept his head above the water of corruption. He lived simply. He worked the land. And when he prayed, he meant it. The world around him mocked the old ways. They laughed at those who feared the Lord. Faith had become foolishness, and holiness an ancient myth. But the Creator had been watching. His patience, vast as the heavens, was nearing its end. And in that still valley, where morning mist rose like incense, God's gaze fell upon one man who still believed. Before the storm, there was silence. Before the command, there was a heartbeat of mercy. And before judgment, there was a chance, one last chance for the world to listen. But no one did. Noah didn't yet know that his obedience would save the future. He didn't know that his hammer and faith would rewrite the story of mankind. All he knew was this: something was coming. The wind carried unease. The sky, once gentle, seemed heavier each day. The laughter of the wicked echoed longer than it should. And in his heart, Noah felt the weight of something unseen, a warning forming like thunder far away. The world had forgotten its maker, but the maker had not forgotten the world. It began, as most miracles do, in quiet. No thunder rolled, no lightning cracked across the sky. Only the still air of dawn, the slow rhythm of Noah's breath, and a whisper that felt older than time itself. Noah. The voice was not heard with the ears. It was felt, deep within the bones, resonating through the soul like a note struck in the heart of creation. Noah froze. His tools lay forgotten by his side. He had prayed many times, but never like this. Again, it came. Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence. Those words were heavy, not just a warning, but a sorrow, as if the heavens themselves wept for what humanity had become. For a long while, Noah said nothing. How do you respond when the Creator of the universe speaks your name? How do you stand when the weight of judgment presses upon your chest? Noah trembled, not from fear, but from awe. The same God who had breathed life into dust was now speaking to him, a farmer, a husband, a father. Then came the command.
Noah,
Build for yourself an ark of gopher wood.
ark.
Make rooms in it, and cover it inside and out with pitch. An ark? The word echoed through his mind like an impossible dream. There had never been rain, not like this. The earth had always been watered from below. Rivers, streams, mists that rose from the ground. A flood that would cover mountains. To everyone else, it would sound absurd. And yet, deep in his spirit, Noah knew. The voice was true. The command was real. He fell to his knees, heart pounding.
How will I do this
Lord,
thing?
he whispered, how will I do this thing? I am but one man. And the answer came softly, steady and sure. You will not build it by strength, but by obedience. Perhaps
Faith
that is
isn't
where
about
faith begins.
understanding.
Not in
It's
understanding
about
the how,
trust.
but in trusting the who. Noah rose slowly, the echoes of that divine voice still lingering in his mind. His hands, calloused from years of labor, now felt like instruments of a purpose far beyond himself. He would build the impossible. He would trust the unseen, even if the world laughed. The days that followed were filled with both wonder and fear. Noah began gathering the wood, marking the ground where the massive vessel would take shape. Every strike of his hammer sounded like defiance, not against men, but against doubt. Sometimes, while working, he would glance toward the horizon. People went on with their lives, trading in the markets, worshiping idols, mocking the stories of old. They didn't notice the man in the valley, cutting timber with tears in his eyes. Noah's faith was lonely, but obedience often is. Still, he built, not out of fear of destruction, but out of reverence for the one who had spoken. And as each plank of wood found its place, something else was being built too. A bridge between judgment and mercy, between what was and what could be. Because when God speaks, even silence begins to move. Day after day, the sound of hammer and saw echoed through the valley. It was a strange song, one that spoke of judgment, yet carried the rhythm of hope. Noah's sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, worked beside him, their young hands blistered, their backs sore. They did not fully understand, but they trusted their father's conviction. And sometimes that is enough, to trust the faith of someone who truly believes. The people around them didn't understand either. They came from nearby towns, drawn by curiosity or mockery. At first, it was harmless laughter, then cruel jokes, then open scorn. Hey Noah, one man shouted, voice sharp as an axe. Are you building a boat on dry land? Planning to sail on dust? Another joined in. Maybe he's lost his mind. He says the sky will fall on us. Laughter broke out, rolling across the hills like thunder, the wrong kind of thunder. Noah paused for a moment, his hand resting on the wood. He could have shouted back. He could have explained, reasoned, pleaded. But he didn't. Instead, he looked toward the horizon and whispered a prayer. Because how do you convince a world that no longer listens to God? How do you warn those who laugh at mercy? So he kept building. Each nail, each beam, became a declaration, I believe. Sometimes at night, Noah would sit alone beside the frame of the ark, staring up at the stars. The same stars God had hung in the sky. He would wonder, what if he had said no? What if he had chosen comfort over calling? Faith, he realized, isn't built in moments of certainty. It's built plank by plank, through sweat, tears, and 1,000 small choices to trust again. One evening, As the structure finally began to take shape, massive, towering above the trees, the wind shifted. Clouds gathered on the horizon, dark and unfamiliar. The air felt heavy, as if creation itself held its breath. Noah looked to the sky. Soon, he murmured, very soon. Then came another command. Bring into the ark 2 of every kind of living creature, to keep them alive with you. The words echoed in his soul, and once more Noah obeyed. Animals began to appear, not by his command, but as if led by an unseen hand. Pairs of creatures, great and small, came from the forests, the plains, the skies. Elephants walked beside gazelles. Lions moved calmly beside deer. Birds filled the air like living colors. The people watching were astonished. For a moment, their laughter died. But still, pride held their hearts. They shook their heads and turned away. Noah's wife watched in silence as the ark neared completion. Her eyes, tired yet tender, met his. Do you think they will ever believe you? She asked softly. Noah looked at the crowd, then back at her. I don't know, he said,
I will still believe
but I
for
will
them.
still believe for them.
In a
And that
world
is the
consumed
strange
by
beauty
doubt,
of faith.
His faith.
It builds even when no one else sees the storm. By the time the ark stood finished, vast, strong, and waiting, the first drops of rain had not yet fallen. The world went on as before, but above the laughter, above the disbelief, there was the steady heartbeat of obedience, the kind that could change history, because faith is not proven in what we see. It's proven in what we do before the rain. For 7 days, the ark stood waiting. The doors were open, wide enough for any soul to enter. The sky above remained calm, too calm, and in that stillness, people laughed louder. They passed by the massive vessel and shook their heads. 7 days, Noah. Where is your rain? Children pointed and giggled. Merchants mocked as they traded their goods nearby. But inside the ark, there was peace. Noah and his family had finished gathering food and water. The animals rested quietly, each finding its place, as if guided by the same unseen hand that had brought them there. And then, silence. A silence so deep, it seemed the whole world was listening. Noah stood at the doorway of the ark, eyes fixed on the horizon. The air had changed, thick, heavy, strange. He felt it before he saw it. A cool drop touched his skin. Then another. The first raindrop. He looked up. Dark clouds rolled across the sky, swallowing the light. Thunder rumbled, low and distant, like the growl of a waking giant. People stopped. Their laughter faded. A few lifted their hands, catching the rain with nervous smiles. It's only a shower, someone said. It'll pass. But it didn't. The drops grew heavier. The ground darkened. The wind began to howl. And for the first time, the heavens opened. It wasn't gentle rain. It was a flood of sorrow. Water poured from the skies, roaring as if creation itself was being undone. Rivers overflowed, valleys filled, and the mocking voices turned to cries. Inside the ark, Noah held his family close. The animals stirred, uneasy, as thunder cracked overhead. Then a voice came, not of man, but of command. The Lord shut him in, the door sealed, firm and final. Outside, fists pounded against the hull. Noah, open the door! Screams tore through the storm. But the time for mercy had passed. Noah sank to his knees, trembling. Tears streamed down his face, not from fear, but from grief. He had warned them. For years, he had spoken, built, pleaded. Now, all he could do was listen. How does one bear the sound of a world dying? How does one thank God for salvation when it comes through so much loss? Days turned to nights, and nights into days, though it was hard to tell where one ended. The ark rose, lifted by the rising waters, floating upon chaos. The wind screamed, the waves crashed, but the ark, that great vessel of faith, held firm. Inside, Noah whispered prayers through the noise.
Guide us.
He prayed for strength, for
strength,
mercy,
show
for
me
understanding.
mercy,
He
Please
prayed
have
for the
mercy
voices
on
that
them,
could no longer be
even
heard.
those who do
And
not.
yet, amidst all the destruction, there was a strange kind of peace, a divine stillness inside the storm. Because though the world below was drowning, heaven was not silent. Every drop that fell carried both judgment and promise. For with every ending that God allows, there is the seed of a new beginning. So the ark floated, a single heartbeat of faith in a sea of ruin. Above the roar of the flood, above the cries of the lost, one truth remained. Obedience had saved them. The rain did not stop for 40 days and 40 nights. Each morning looked the same: gray skies, endless rain, waves stretching farther than sight could see. The world had vanished beneath the flood, swallowed whole. No hills, no trees, no sound of life. Only the groaning of the waters and the creaking of the ark. Inside, the days blended into one another. Time lost its shape. Noah's family kept busy, feeding animals, repairing what they could, praying when the storm grew too loud. At night, Noah would stand by the small window high above, staring into the endless expanse of water. The moonlight danced on the waves like silver ghosts. He wondered if he would ever see the earth again. Sometimes he whispered, Lord, are you still near? And though no voice answered, the stillness seemed to whisper back, I have not forgotten you. Faith was no longer about building or surviving. Now, it was about waiting. And waiting can be the hardest form of trust. One morning, Noah woke to silence. No more pounding rain, no thunder, just still air. He climbed up and looked out the window. The sky was clear for the first time in weeks. The sun broke through, its light trembling across the surface of the waters. It was almost painful to see something so bright again. The rain had stopped, but the flood remained. The ark drifted aimlessly, carried by unseen currents. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. And though the storm had passed, the silence was heavier than thunder. Inside, the animals stirred restlessly. The air grew thick and stale. The children whispered,
Is everything okay?
Father, when will it end?
We're worried.
Noah smiled gently, though his eyes betrayed the weariness of waiting. When God remembers us, he said, and then he did. The Bible says God remembered Noah, not because he had forgotten, but because his appointed time had come. A wind began to blow across the waters, soft at first, then steady and strong. The waves shifted, the ark rocked, and slowly, ever so slowly, the waters began to recede. After months adrift, the ark came to rest upon the mountains of Ararat. A world once drowned was now being born again. But Noah did not rush. He waited, watching, listening. Faith, after all, had carried him this far. He would not lose it now. After 40 more days, he opened the window and sent out a raven. It flew back and forth, never resting. Then he sent out a dove, the gentle symbol of hope. It returned, finding no place to land. 7 days later, he sent it again. This time, it came back with something small, something living, a freshly plucked olive leaf. Noah held it in his trembling hands. The leaf was wet, soft, and shining with dew. For the first time, he smiled through tears. Hope had found its way back into the world. And when he released the dove a third time, it did not return. It had found a home. Noah stood by the window long after, his heart full. Not with relief alone, but with reverence. The world outside was no longer the same, and neither was he. Sometimes, the greatest miracle isn't when the rain stops. It's when the silence speaks. When the time came, God spoke again. His words were gentle, the kind that moved not through thunder, but through peace. Come out of the ark, Noah, you and your family, and every living creature with you. After all the months of waiting, Noah pushed open the great door. It groaned like an ancient sigh, releasing the scent of wood, earth, and life. Light poured in, warm and golden, flooding the darkness inside. He stepped forward. The ground beneath his feet was soft, damp soil, untouched since the flood. Around him, the mountains glistened. The air was clear, washed clean by judgment. It felt like stepping into a new creation. One by one, the animals emerged. The great and the small, the tame and the wild. They moved quietly, as if they too understood the sacredness of this new beginning. Birds took flight, wings cutting across the fresh sky. The world breathed again. Noah stood still for a long time. The silence of the past year pressed upon him. The cries, the storm, the waiting, the wondering. Now all of it faded beneath a single truth. God had kept his word. Before he built shelter, before he sought comfort, Noah built an altar. He gathered stones, laid wood, and took of the clean animals, and there he worshipped. He didn't ask for wealth. He didn't ask for rest. He simply bowed his head and gave thanks. And the Lord smelled the offering, not the smoke, but the heart behind it, and was pleased. Then God spoke words that would echo through every generation to come. Never again will I curse the ground because of man, even though his heart is inclined toward evil from youth. Never again will I destroy all living creatures, as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night, shall not cease. Can you imagine hearing those words? After seeing everything lost, after watching the world drown, to be told that creation itself would continue, it was not just mercy, it was grace reborn. And then, to seal his promise, God painted the sky. From horizon to horizon, a bow of radiant colors appeared. Red, gold, green, violet, shimmering through the mist. It wasn't just beauty, it was covenant. He said, I set my bow in the clouds, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Noah watched, his face lit by the glow of heaven's promise. The rainbow arched over him like a bridge between God and man, between wrath and restoration. A promise that judgment would never again erase what love could redeem. Behind him, the ark rested, silent, weathered, but whole. Before him stretched a new world, unmarked and waiting. He knew life would never be the same. He also knew that faith would always be tested, in the rain, in the silence, in the rebuilding. But that is the heart of Noah's story, isn't it? Faith that builds when there is no storm yet. Trust that waits when heaven seems silent. And gratitude that kneels when the promise is finally seen. As the rainbow faded into the mist, Noah turned to his family. They would begin again. Plant, rebuild, live. And though centuries would pass and nations would rise and fall, the bow in the sky would always whisper the same truth, that mercy still reigns, that God remembers, that every flood, no matter how deep, will one day give way to light.